We're doing the Birkas al Achilas Matzah. So in the pages of the Kuntress, in this edition, it's page 67. And I think we're going to start off, actually not in the Kuntress, we'll start off by just actually reading the halachos. Okay, so let's look at Hilchos Berachos, Perik Yud Aleph, and we're going to do halachos, what does he say here? Halachos Yud Aleph through Tesvav, okay? So, nice. Okay, Kol, still skill. Kol ha'osa mitzvah, bein sh'asa chova alav, bein she'ena chova alav. So anyone who does a mitzvah, whether it is an obligation or whether it's not an obligation, so meaning, let's say like, what example of mitzvah we say bracha, that's not an obligation. Say like shchita, right? So you don't have to just go check stuff, but if you want to eat, then you do a shchita, you know?
Would that apply like a woman
possibly. I can't remember if he addresses that or not, but yeah, meaning, I don't know if he meant definitively it's not a chova or like for that person, yeah. Im asa osa la'atzmo, if he did it for himself, mivarech la'asos, then he makes the bracha in the infinitive, in la'asos, so like lehad likner or whatever, you know, okay? Asa osa la'acherim, if he did it for others, mivarech al ha'asiya, then he makes the bracha in the lashon of al. And now he's going to give examples. Ketzad, lavach tefillin, if you put on tefillin, which you are obligated in and you're doing it for yourself, mivarech lahaniach tefillin. So you say la'atos is lahaniach tefillin. Nisat hepatitis, mivarech lehitat hepatitis. Right? Again, you're chayav in it and you're doing it for yourself. Yeshiv b'sukkah, mivarech leishiv b'sukkah. So you get the idea. V'cheinu mivarech lahadlik ner Shabbos, ligmor es ha'halel. Right? Rambam has ligmor, not likro. V'chein im kava mezuzah lebeito. So too, if you fixed a mezuzah to your house, mivarech. Oh, so I guess I was wrong here. When he said chova, he meant like if you're obligated in any event, meaning not like a definitive chov, meaning like you don't have to put up a mezuzah, but if you have a house, then you are chayav. You know what I'm saying? So in other words, even a mezuzah, mevarach likbo a mezuzah. Asa ma'ake lagago, if you make a parapet for your roof. The only time anyone uses the word parapet unless they're in medieval war. Mevarech asher kiddushan b'mitzvosav v'tzivana la'asos ma'ake.
Yeah, it's where they said the whole long thing.
Oh, you mean asher kiddushan b'mitzvosav? Yeah, you're right. That's strange. Yeah, I don't know. That one I'm comfortable saying that it's but it is weird. Kifrish truma, yeah.
I am noting the fact that it's the verb is la'asos, and that was like the.
Yeah, that's true. Right.
I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but
I hear. Meaning if he just says mevarech la'asos ma'akeh, then there might be some sort of confusion. So you have to like add in a bunch of words. I don't know. Hifrish truma u'maitros la'atmo. If you separated truma and maitros for yourself, mevarech la'hafrish. It sounds like he's going on and on, but he's going to give variants of a lot of these examples later on. So I'm saying you should be thankful right now for the Rambam. Mal et bano, if you circumcised your son. I just had an inspiration for a meme. Mal es bano, mavaref lamul es haben. Then you say the bracha of lamul es haben to circumcise the son. Shtakat pitzcho v'chagigato. I gotta be on all the time, you know. Yeah. You gotta be receptive to the muse. Not. Yeah. All right. If he shefted his Pesach and his chagiga, mivarach lishchot. Okay, so we got this rule is pretty clear, right? Okay, next. If he established a mezuzah or fixed a mezuzah for others, so if I'm helping you put up your mezuzah that I'm not obligated in, but you are, mivarach al kviyas mezuzah. Okay? Asa lahen ma'akeh, if I make a ma'akeh for other people, mivarach al asiyas ma'akeh. Tifrish truma lahen truma, if you separated truma for other people, mivarach al hafrashas truma, mal es ben chavero, mivarach al hamila. Which is probably the only, I don't know everyone's history, but that's probably the only bracha you've ever heard made at a bris, because I've never been at a bris where the father did circumcise his own son. So, you know, al hamila is the thing. Same thing with all these.
I know someone who like specifically wanted to do it like himself.
Yeah.
And he like learned how to do it, and then when the time came, he just like couldn't.
Yeah, I heard, and I'm going to keep the recording on for this because it's a cautionary tale. I heard that knowing our yeshiva, then like people want to do mitzvahs in the best way possible, and so like there was a phase in yeshiva where like fathers wanted to do the bris milah on their own sons, and like I heard that, this is an urban legend, but that like the father was like had shaky hand, and they put a stop to it, and then that's when the trend ended. I don't know if that's actually true. It's just urban legend. But yeah. I also feel like people did a lot more knife work in the olden days than now. Like how often are, like if you're chefing your own stuff or like whittling your own wood or like whatever, I don't know. All right, where are we at to now? Yudalad, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Asa, so this is a new rule now, okay? Or a new variant, I mean. Asa ha-mitzvah lo ula acherim ke'achad. If he did a mitzvah for himself and for others together, im haisa mitzvah she'ena chova, if it is a mitzvah that's not an obligation, mivarach al ha'asiyah, so then you make a bracha of al. Lefikach, hu mivarach al mitzvahs eruv. So that's a perfect example, right? You're not chayiv to make an eruv, it's optional. But when you do it, if you're doing it for yourself and other people, then you say al mitzvahs eruv.
What do you mean you're not chayiv to make an eruv?
Meaning there's no obligation that every Shabbos, there's never an obligation to make an eruv. It's that if you want to be able to carry in just Rambam Bekius or whatever, or you want to do eruv for Yom Tov, then you do that. Okay. If it were a chova, an obligation, and he had intention to be moti himself, to fulfill his own obligation, and to be moti other people, mivarach lasos. Then he makes the bracha of lasos. Lefikach hu mivarach lishmoa kol shofar. Okay, so that's the rule, right? So if it's for yourself and others, if it's a reshus, then it's all. But if it's for a chiyuv that you're being moti yourself and others, then you say lishmoa or lasos. Okay. Last one. Natal as a lulav. If he took a lulav, mivarach al natilas lulav. Okay, so then he makes all natilas lulav. Now, what's weird about that? He's doing it for himself and as a chiyuv, right? So he should say litol as a lulav. So he says why? Because once he picks it up, he's already yotze. So this is a new rule, which is that if you say a mitzvah that you've already started, then you do all. Okay, even if it's a chova for yourself.
Right.
But if you made a bracha before you took it, so let's say like it's on the table and you make your bracha before you pick it up, mivarach litol es halulav. Okay, which I've also never heard anyone make that bracha.
Yeah, there's a whole host about how do you have like
Yeah.
He gives 5 different answers.
Wow, that's crazy.
And, when there's 5 answers, none of them are
Kamo leisha pasoka, just like leisha pasoka, where that's interesting. Kamo leisha pasoka. So I guess that means it's funny because he doesn't say like if you were already sitting in a sukkah. Presumably, if you were already sitting in the sukkah and then you made the bracha, it would be all yeshivas sukkah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So from here you learn that if he made one who blesses after he did the mitzvah without a bracha, mivarach al hasiyah. So then he makes a bracha on the asiyah. Aval netilas yadayim u'shchita, but with washing of the hands and shchita, hoil. Oh, I guess I retract my retraction. Hoil v'divrei reshus hein, because I guess I did give a good example with shchita being reshus earlier on. Since they are optional, afilu shachat la'atzmo does not mean that you shechted yourself. You shecht for yourself.
For a moment, I thought it said shachat et atzmo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's why I clarified. Mivarach al hashchita al kisui hadam al netilas yadayim. So then you say the bracha on all for al shchita, al kisui hadam, and al netilas yadayim, since they're different rishus. V'chein hu mivarach al biur chametz. So that's weird, right? Why would you do al biur chametz? Bein shabbatak la'atzmo, bein shabbatak la'acherim, sheme'etz shegamar belibo levatel, nasa mitzvos habiur, nasa's mitzvos habiur, kodem shiyavdok, kamoshi yisbar b'makomo. Because once he resolved in his heart to nullify, then the mitzvah of biur has been done, and it's before he checked. That's weird. So he's not saying once you are mevatel belibo, once you resolve that you will be mevatel, that counts as the mitzvah of biur. That seems like its own sugya, right? I mean, it's not touched that. Yeah, that's why I get the impression.
Are we already say the mitzvah for this year? Because
yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you've initiated the mitzvah, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you've completed the mitzvah, but not the mitzvah to biur, I assume means that he's partaken in the action of it, not that he's completed it, obviously. Okay, so those are our intro to halachos. Okay, so now the Baal Kuntress is going to review it and then set up our questions. Iyun, so left column, we're on the right page, right? Iyun hilchos berachos yud aleph through whatever. Tazvav d'mavarach al mitzvah b'lashon la'asos im asa'a la'atzmo v'lo haisa davar reshus v'lo birach la'achar shehischa asa mitzvah. That's kind of a summary of all of them. When do you say la'atos? It's when you did the mitzvah for yourself and it was not optional and you did not bless after you did the mitzvah. So if you check all those three boxes, then you would say la'asos. Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Umizeh yoted al matzah sarach levarach b'lashon le'echol matzah. Simple, right? You would need to make the bracha of le'echol matzah because it's an obligation. You're doing it for yourself, and you say the bracha before you eat it. But guess what? Ulam ein hilchos matzah ches vav and ches. Okay, so let's look at that. Let's see if there's money. Matzah. So halacha vav, he says, Achar kach mevarach al netilas yadayim v'nota al yadav shniya shar yisich daito b'shas kriyas haggadah l'keach shnei rekikin cholik acha mehen u'meniach paras l'tok shalom mevarach amoti lach min aretz mipnei ma eno mevarach al shtei kikaros. Oh, am I reading the wrong one? No, I'm reading the wrong one, right?
No,
Okay.
it's the next paragraph.
Next paragraph, Zion.
No,
Oh,
There's like
pass.
the second paragraph in Vav.
Oh, and Vav. Okay, so mine is different then. V'achkach korek matzah maror ke'echad tavu b'charosos mevarach brok tashem l'kem l'cholam shek l'shem v'tzav v'tivanu al achilas matzah u'marorim. Well, fine. V'im achal matzah b'ifnei atmo maror b'ifnei atmo mevarach al zeb b'ifnei atmo v'zeb b'ifnei atmo. And then he says later on also v'achkach mevarach brok tashem l'kem l'cholam shek l'shem v'tzav v'tivanu al achilas hazevach. Right, that should also be le'echol as a zavach. V'chol mi b'sar chagigas arba atzar tchila. Mevarach brok tashem l'kem l'cham shek l'shem v'tzav v'tivanu al achilat ha-pesach. V'chol mi guch shel pesach v'lo berachos ha-pesach poteres es shel zavach v'lo shel zavach poteres es shel pesach. And then in the next one he also says b'zman hazeh she'in sham korban achar shem mevarach hamotzi lechem chos mevarach al achilas matzah, etc. Right, so we trust him. Okay, yeah, right. So it does not follow the rule. That's the question.
Which I feel like is a stronger question than like some of the.
Yes. This is like a direct violation of the rules that the Rambam sets up.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a medaic to do this. Yeah.
How is it violating the rule?
So the three rules the three check marks that you would need in order to say the bracha of le'echol is if it's a mitzvah you're obligated in as opposed to optional.
Right.
If it is
For yourself.
and if you say the bracha before you do it. So with matzah is an obligation.
Right.
You are eating it for yourself,
Right.
and you're saying the bracha before you eat it. So it should be le'echol matzah,
Not al.
not al achilas matzah. So a very powerful question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And he says also, going on, the mevarach b'lashon al achilas matzah, v'hu hadin maror v'korban Pesach. Yeah, we're in the Kuntress again. V'hu hadin maror v'korban Pesach v'chagigas arba asar k'isa b'sham b'hilchos vav through ches, which we just read. U'mata inkein l'shar achilas shel mitzvah de mevarach b'lashon le'echol. Okay, so you might say, maybe the Rambam does this for any mitzvah of Achilah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but check out Kiddush B'Hilos Trumos, 1522. That one is going to take me a little bit longer to find.
Oh wow.
You got it?
Wait. No. 584. No, 585.
What was this? Did I say Trumos 1522? Yeah. Yeah, so it says there, last halacha, right? Kol ha'okol truma mevarach birkas oso ma'achal. Anyone who eats truma makes the bracha for that food. V'achkach mevarach asher kiddushan b'mitzvosav, b'kedushaso shel Aaron v'tzivanu le'achol truma.
Crazy.
Yeah, and similarly in what was the other one? Bikurim 1:2. This should be an Olympic sport. I got it. Wow, this one is hard. Yeah.
Yeah. 6-12.
Wow.
Ooh, 6:13.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
So close to what we were expecting. Yeah, well, I thought it would be before term actually.
Ooh, look at that, using his mind.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so it's the first. I mean, it's second halacha, but I think it's in the first paragraph. B'chol 1:2. B'chol ochel matana sheyesh ba kedusha mehen v'varach asher kedushanu b'kedushaso shel Aharon v'tzivanu lechol kach v'kach. Okay, right. So you can't just chalk it up to mitzvos achila is all, right? It's clearly different.
Which I don't even know why that would be.
No, you'd have to like.
Okay, oh, maybe this is a category because the.
And
Yeah.
also presumably Rambam would have said it when he was explaining about like in the same.
Yes, he would have mentioned it. You're right. If it was an exception, right?
By
He would have
Lulav,
mentioned
for
it there. That's a
example,
good point.
instead of there.
Yeah.
The question would be why you mentioned it there, but then like.
Yeah.
But
Right.
either way, whatever you say about matzah, and that's you might like it still seems like it's an exception.
Yeah, and it's definitely clear that matzah is the exception, not truma, because matzah is the one that doesn't follow the or matzah and all those other things don't follow the rules.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he concludes in the Kuntress, "Ulchora sosrin divrei Rambam ahadadi." So seemingly the Rambam's contradicting himself. That's the kind of question you could ask on the Rambam. Okay, next, iyun. We're actually not going to do this because it'll take too long to find it. But iyun berif al gemara pesachim daf chav zayin amud aleph in the daf berif demand the leis. Le chamra belele pischa mikadesh rifta, right? So if you don't have wine, that's chamra, does not mean donkey. If you didn't have wine on the night of Pesach, you make kiddush on bread, meaning on matzah. Midi dahava ashabasas b'yom tov, just like you do on Shabbos and Yom Tov, meaning this is a halacha all year round. That if you don't have wine, Rambam says even if you like bread more, then you should you make kiddush on the bread, okay? And what you would do is you would basically say hamoti and then kiddush, and then you'd eat the bread.
But wait, not everyone holds it.
Not everyone holds like him that you do it if you want to. I thought everyone holds like him that you can't, that you do it if you don't have wine, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a Gemara. It's a question of how do you.
Yeah, he's the one who says if you want to.
Okay.
Yeah, umavarech al hamatzah ve'achil yasa, and then he makes the bracha on the matzah and then eats it. Umamshich b'karpas uvahagada. Now, when he says umavarech al hamatzah, what does he mean by that? Just shot. Oh yeah, so in other words, what you're doing is you're changing the order. So ordinarily we delay achilas matzah until like right before the meal.
Mm-hmm.
But if you make kiddush on matzah, then you say you'd say I guess hamotzi, kiddush, and then asher kiddushan b'mitzvos v'tzivan achilas matzah, eat it. Then you continue with karpas and haggadah.
Which fits with that tomorrow about maror.
Oh, he's going to bring that up now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, okay. So this was the riff.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Uvatur or Chaim Simon Tuf Pei Gimel Muva Shitas Hariats. I always forget Hariats Gias. I always forget what the Saudi stands for, whatever. All right. Shecholik al Rif. Okay, so the Ritz Gias argues with the Rif. The B'chi Haigavna that in such a case, Inu Mavarach al Achilas Matzah Elal Achar HaHaggadah. So he says that you don't make achilas matzah until after the Haggadah. Even though you already ate matzah for kiddush.
Wait, sorry. What bracha do we done? Achilas?
Achilas maror, yeah. Or maror according to the Rambam. Yeah.
Isn't that a question also?
Well, he's gonna get to that. Yeah. Okay. So right now, all we need to know is that there's machlokas of if you make kiddush on matzah, the Rif holds you make achilas matzah at the very beginning of your seder, and then the Ritz Giyat says no, you eat the matzah. And you make a moti, obviously, but you saved achilas matzah till after the Haggadah.
And then you eat more matzah?
And then you eat more matzah, yeah. Okay. Iyun hilchos matzah. Ooh, that's a typo. Should say hilchos chamitu matzah. Yeah, ches yud beis.
He's been referring to like things of in shorthand, like he kept saying.
That's true.
Hilchos shofar, hilchos lulav, hilchos.
Right, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, so. I've been very makpid on all my YouTube videos to title them accurately because I'm like a real Ram dedicatee would do that, but if the Baal just can get away with it. All right, so ches yud beis.
I think it's good. That's a more complicating thing.
Yeah, you want to make a little Mishnah Torah by.
Yeah, we take help before.
Ooh, look at you!
Yeah.
I'm using the index, so I'm
Oh, it's whatever it takes.
Your brain is what you do.
Yeah.
Like built-in index to this.
Yeah. Okay. So 8:12, right? Mish ein lo yain b'leilei Pesach. Mikadesh al pas kederech she'osa b'Shabbos. So someone who doesn't have wine on Pesach makes kiddush on bread like he does on Shabbos. V'osa kol hadvarim al haseder hazen. He does all the things in this seder. Okay. So far, we can't tell who he's holding by, right? Or can we? No, right? It sounds like it sounds like he holds by the Rif or the Ritz Giyas.
The Rif.
I'd say the Ritz Giyas.
Oh, because he doesn't say to make a bracha.
And he says, "V'oza kol hadvarim al haseder hazeh."
Oh.
right?
Mm.
So it sounds like he holds by the Ritz Gias. Okay.
Right.
Mish ein lo yerek ela maror bilvad, someone who only has maror, that's the only vegetable. I mean, he doesn't have karpas. But chila mevarach al hamaror shtei berachos. Borei pri ha'adama ve'al achilas maror ve'ochel. So he says, so he's using maror as karpas, so he should make two berachos, borei pri ha'adama and al achilas maror, and then he should eat. Ukisha gomer ha'hagada mevarach al hamatzah ve'ochla. And when he finishes the Haggadah, he should make the bracha on matzah and eat it. The choser ochel min hamar below bracha, and then go back and eat the maror without a bracha. So what's the question?
What's the difference between matzah and maror?
What's the difference between matzah and maror? Let's read it in the Kuntress and then summarize. He says, what paragraph did this start with? Ein hilvos matzah ches yud beis, right?
Wait, so sorry. The question with what's the difference between the matzah and the maror, meaning like
We haven't
why
read it.
don't you say al achilas matzah, al achilas maror when you eat the maror at the end?
So I don't know what you meant. Did you which?
Oh, I meant why don't you say the achilas matzah on the first one?
Yeah. Meaning, because let's read it inside,
Okay.
and yeah, I think it'll be clearer than our half verbal questions. The v'chihai gavna mekadesh al hapas kederech she'oseh b'Shabbos. Klomar de'mavarach hamotzi u'mekadesh v'achach botei v'ochel. So that's what it means to do it like you do on Shabbos. You make hamotzi, then you make kiddush, and then you split and eat. Kitakasav Rambam Bekius Shabbos chav test, which we're not going to look at. We know how to make kiddush. La'achar achila zo. And after this achila, ose kol hadvarim al seder hazeh. You do everything in this order. Kitakasav Rambam Bekius Matzah ches yud beis. Kavnaso he kol haseder shebeperek ches. His intent is the entire order of the 8th perek. Ularabos, including Birkas al achilas matzah la'achar ha'haggadah, including al achilas matzah after the Haggadah. V'imkein pasuk Rambam ke Ritz Gias. So it sounds like he's passing like the Ritz Gias, that you make the bracha of al achilas matzah in the usual place, even though you use it for kiddush. Aval, the Sefer shal halacha yud beis sham, but at the end of halacha yud beis there, Isa, it says shemish ein lo yerek ela maror bilvad. If you only have no vegetable except for maror, mevarach borei pri ha'adama ve'al achilas maror lekarpas. Then you make both brachos, al borei pri ha'adama and al achilas maror for karpas. U'achar ha'haggadah choser ve'ochel maror below bracha. Then you go back and you eat maror without a bracha. V'tama de'mevarach amaror betchila. And the reason why you eat maror at the beginning, the reason why you make the bracha on maror at the beginning is, I think Chaim mentioned this when we did these halachos, shehari mila kreso hemenu, because he's filling his belly with it. Okay, so whatever that reasoning is, okay, but that I guess since you are like eating karpas, since you're eating maror on an empty stomach, apparently that's the more appropriate place to make the bracha of al achilas maror.
And when you eat the matzah, it just doesn't fill you.
So that's the question. Okay, so v'im kain, if so, if pasach harama b'makadesh arifta, how can the Rambam paskin when in the case of making kiddush on bread, de'enu mavarach al achilas matzah elol achar ha'haggadah v'halo kvar mila kreso hemenu b'kiddush? Haven't you already filled your stomach with it at kiddush? Right. So it's two things, right? It seems like he paskins like the Ritz Gias based on matzah, but the reason that prompted him to make the bracha on maror at the beginning based on the Gemara should seemingly dictate that he should make the bracha of al achilas matzah at the beginning because he's filling his belly with it.
So one is a question of himself, and then one is the question on the wrong, like a question on the wrong.
So that's not how he's asking it, because he's just basically quoting the Ritz Gias to show that is a shita, but I think it's goal to understand the Rambam. But yeah. But in other words, it's saying that given this machlokus between the Rif and the Ritz Gias, seems like the Rambam holds like the Rif, yet his thought by maror relies on a reason that would undermine that thought, namely that if you're gonna preempt, push up, make early the bracha on al achilas maror because you're filling your belly with it, you can do the same for matzah. Yeah,
and the Rambam doesn't hold like the Rif. He holds like the
Ritz Gias, yeah. So in other words, it would make more sense if the Rambam held like the Rif, based on his thought for maror.
Right.
Yeah.
Another,
yeah.
Yes, also whatever. But the Ritz Gias holds the maror thing also presumably.
Yeah, presumably, yeah. Yeah, so it could be a question on the Ritz Gias, but yeah. Okay. Okay, v'chi tema. So maybe you'll say the inu mavarach al achilas matzah b'kiddush mishum de'ein sham kiyum mitzvos matzah. Okay, so maybe you'll say that the Rambam doesn't hold that you make a bracha on that first achilas matzah, because maybe that's not an achilas matzah shel mitzvah. Maybe there's no kima mitzvah there. But then he refutes it. Haloba anasuhu goyim lechol adayin yatza. But we see from the case where the goyim force you to eat matzah, you are yotze. Matzah vav gimel, which we don't need to look at right now. Velote achilas matzah bekiddush gerua me'achilas ones. Eating matzah at kiddush voluntarily can't be worse off than eating it being force fed by goyim. The im shapir yatza, and if you are yotze when you're force fed matzah, madua ein mavarach. Sorry, if you're yotze when you eat it for kiddush, why wouldn't you make a bracha? So in other words, he's just saying you might say what would be the main reason to say that you don't make a birkas achilas matzah when you make kiddush on matzah, because you're not yotze matzah. But he's saying you are clearly yotze matzah, because even in a situation where they kidnap you and force feed you matzah, you're yotze. So certainly if you do it at the beginning of the seder.
All right, I guess this question wouldn't apply to maror because he would say that you are fulfilling your chiyuv when you eat it.
Exactly. Yeah. There's not even a question there because the only question there is why would we do it at the beginning instead of later, and that's because of the filling the belly thing.
Right. And then so why would you have to eat maror again at the end?
That's a good question about why you have to eat matzah again later on. Yeah. Maror. Is that what you did?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you have to eat maror later on without a bracha? That's a good question because you already presumably you already yotze. Yeah. He didn't.
Is like seder halal.
Maybe. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me, but he didn't raise that question here. I was going to say that you could have a really bad v'chitema. Maybe the only case of going forcing you to eat it is when they're forcing you to eat it at the proper time in the seder. But I don't think it works. That's just a bad v'chitema.
I feel like you'd have to specify that also.
Yes. Yeah. That's not a good one. Okay. All right. Next question. I don't know if we're supposed to wait for Isaac or not, but he didn't say to, so we're not. B'derech klal katzaf Rambam din birkas mitzvah pratis besuch ha'halachos she'osa mitzvah. So in general, meaning not just in Pesach, the Rambam he writes the din of the birkas mitzvah of that particular mitzvah in the halachos of that mitzvah. Okay, kagon, and we don't need to look this up unless you really want to, but kagon behilvos tefillin dalad dalad. He says you make the bracha of shirkisham mitzvah of tefillin lahaniach tefillin. Behilvos titis gimel chatz. He says shirkisham mitzvah of tefillin hizatef titis. Behilvos megillah gimel aleph, which we did read. He says shirkisham mitzvah of tefillin al mikra megillah ba'od, and many more. Okay, you can look at all of them if you want to prove it. Okay.
Wait, isn't that Mila?
Oh, sorry, Mila. You're right. Not Megillah. And there wouldn't be Gimel Aleph either. Megillah. That'd be Hanukkah. Okay. V'od. Period. Ulam, however, in Shum Haskara shel Birkas HaMitzvah Achilas korban Pesach, B'Hilchos korban Pesach klal. If you look through the entire Hilchos korban Pesach, then there's no mention of the Birkas HaMitzvah there, even though it talks about eating the korban Pesach there.
Wait, doesn't it mention it in the seder? And not there in us?
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay. Yes.
Mentioned like that you can't be yotze bracha of the zevach with the bracha of the Pesach.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see in a second. Okay. He's getting there. Vidina nichtav rak b'hilchos matzah ches zayin. So that's he writes it in what you just said in the perek ches, which is the seder of the halachos.
Okay. And he basically before this he was just proving that every mitzvah he says the bracha. Yeah,
every mitzvah, then Rambam will codify the birkas mitzvah in that halachos section. And presumably he does that for everything, meaning even the one he didn't mention. Like Hilchos, the birkas mitzvah on lulav is in Hilchos lulav, and in sukkah is in Hilchos sukkah, and Hilchos shofar is in Hilchos shofar.
Yeah, so it's just strange, like that he gave like the following.
Yeah.
He's gonna give all the bracha, like every bracha itself.
Yeah.
Individually, why does he have to give the column in Hilchos brachos?
It's a good question. I guess because there are certain. I mean, I don't. Well, okay, it makes sense that he gives the column in Hilchos brachos because he's not going to say the column for each of the ones by their place. The question is on why he would put
the individual
ones in the individual.
Well, once he puts the individual ones, he could just drop the column. Who cares?
No, because you still need to know which of the brachos to make. And let's say, for example, Milah. Right,
yeah,
like how if you're doing it for yourself or someone else, or like lulav, like each of these are subject to so many different varieties.
And also he was just bringing them. My understanding at least is the ones that he brought down. He was just bringing as an example to show what he was saying in terms of like how you say it differently.
True.
Right, but it would just get too complicated if you put all the exceptions and ways to say it in each of the sections. Yeah, so this is the most efficient way to do it. Okay, the option birkas mitzvah la matzah. Lo niftav klal b'perek hamayri b'mitzvos matzah. Right. So what perek was matzah? That's hilchos matzah perek vav. So even though he mentions all the halachos of eating matzah there, he does not mention the birkas mitzvah of matzah in perek vav. Ella rak b'perek hamayri b'sidr halayla, but he only mentions it in perek ches. V'yishlit mua mai shna berachos elu denichtavu dinan b'hilchos matzah perek ches v'lo b'hilchos hamitzvos apratios mishar berachos hamitzvos. So then you can say, why is it? What's the difference between these berachos, such that he wrote their halachos only in hilchos chametz matzah perek ches, and not in the halachos of the particular mitzvos, like he does with all the other ones? So in other words, why doesn't this fit the pattern? Yeah. What are you looking at?
I'm trying to find where he mentions the berachos.
Yeah. Sure. Was it in Ches Zion?
Yeah.
It was, I think, the one you mentioned, right? Achilas Zevach, potential Pesach. Yeah.
Pesach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So before we read the answer, let's just quickly review the questions. So the first question is the Birkas mitzvah, the rules for the Birkas mitzvah of Matzah and korban Pesach and maror and chagiga contradict the rules in hilchos berachos. That's question number one. Question number two is in the case where you make kiddush on bread. The Rif says you say the Birkas mitzvah on matzah at the beginning, and the Ritzkiah says you put it in the normal place. The Rambam says you put it in the normal place, which seems to imply he holds by the Ritzkiahs. But by maror, the Rambam says you put the Birkas maror early because you're filling your belly with it. Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't he apply that logic to matzah and say you make the Birkas mitzvah on matzah early? In other words, why does he pattern like the Ritzkiahs? And then this last question, it has to do with his codification scheme, which is ordinarily the Rambam codifies all. Can you tell I'm trying to delay for Isaac? Because we're getting to the answer. He ordinarily codifies all of the Birkas mitzvah in the particular halacha sections, but he doesn't do that for korban Pesach and he doesn't do that for matzah. Yeah. Yeah. I really, let me just see if he texted me or something, because I don't know. Oh, is that him?
It is him.
Okay.
He ran over there.
Yeah, we were waiting because we weren't sure if you wanted us to wait, and we were stalling for the answer. So the only question you missed is in general, the Rambam codifies the halacha of the Birkas mitzvah in that halacha section. So in Hilchos Tefillin, he says tefillin. He puts it in all the mitzvos. But by korban Pesach, you read all of Hilchos korban Pesach, which even talks about eating and stuff, and there's no Birkas mitzvah there. He only puts it in perek ches of Hilchos coming to matzah. And then in the Birkas mitzvah on matzah, he doesn't put in perek vav, which is where the mitzvah of matzah is discussed. He puts it in perek ches. Okay. Yeah. All right. Ready for the answer?
Yeah.
Okay. V'yish lomar da berachos lekorbanos haPesach umatzah umaror einan stam berachos hamitzvah. Okay. Ella dahavian gam kain sipur yitzias mitzrayim ba'atzman. Okay, so the berachos hamitzvah on those three mitzvahs are not just berachos hamitzvah; they are sipur themselves. They are part of the telling of the story of Yitzias Mitzrayim. Okay. Uklomar, in other words, the kavanas vitzivanu al achilas matzah, the phrase "who commanded us" regarding the eating of matzah, he shemipnei ma'ora di Yitzias Mitzrayim Hashem kava mitzvahs matzah laharos al inyan Yitzias Mitzrayim. So we're in other words, to put it in my own words, because the phrase al achilas matzah is a narrative. You're narrating that God, when you say God commanded us in the eating of matzah, you are telling about the event of Yitzias Mitzrayim in which God commanded us on eating of the matzah, because that is part of the event.
Mm-hmm. Can you say he commanded us to eat the matzah?
Okay, we'll look at that. Okay. Mikema de sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim shel Birkas hamatzah kai al kvius klal hamitzvah. Since he's answering it right now. Since the telling of Yitzias Mitzrayim through the Birkas hamatzah refers to the institution of the mitzvah as an entirety, v'lo rak al ha'ma'aseh ha'prati she'oseh la'atzmo, and is not referring to the particular action that you are doing for yourself. L'chein inu mevarach v'lashon la'achol. That's why you don't say to eat matzah. So in other words, if I said, "Blessed are you, Hashem, our God, King of the universe, who sanctifies with the mitzvot, blah blah blah," and command us to eat matzah, then I would be talking about what I'm about to do. But if I said, "Who command us regarding the eating of matzah," that is talking about God commanding us in matzah, and that is a sipur. So because it has a sipur dimension, it makes more sense to talk about the entire institution of the matzah.
Cool.
Yeah. Hari lashon lasos bibracha regila lemitzvah more davka al hamaseh prati. The lashon of lasos in a usual bracha because of mitzvah indicates specifically the particular action. L'umat lashon al ha'atiyah demora al klal hamitzvah, as opposed to the lashon of al, which refers to the mitzvah in its entirety. Kedemachna behilchos brachos yud aleph yud gimel umehalacha tetzvav sham beinyan lulav. So what was that there? Let's just look at the hilchos brachos again. Yud aleph yud gimel.
146.
Yeah, so that is aval im kava mezuzah la'acherim, right?
Yeah.
Mevarach al kviyas mezuzah, asal hen ma'akeh, mevarach al asiyas ma'akeh, hifrish lahen truma, mevarach al hafrashas truma. Right, so all those cases are cases where the reason why you say that when you're doing it for other people is because you're referring to the institution. You're not referring to your kiyum hamitzvah. So he's just using that to show that that's what all implies. And then the case of netilas lulav, also, since you already started the action, you can't say little as a lulav, because that would be saying I'm about to take lulav. But once you've passed that opportunity, you have to speak about the institution of lulav as a whole. Yeah. Okay, onward. All right. Mihai taima, for this reason, kasaf Rambam din brachos korbanos Pesach umatzah maror v'perach ches mehilchos matzah lahud. The perek zeh mari b'mitzvah sipur yitzias mitzrayim shu chelak ikari b'tivan shel brachos elo. So that's why the Rambam puts it in perek ches. Why? Because perek ches is about sipur yitzias mitzrayim. Okay. And so that's highlighting the fact that part of the identity of these brachos is sipur yitzias mitzrayim.
And korban Pesach also.
Korban Pesach also, yeah. Yeah. Ilu kasan hilchos korban Pesach uva perek vav mihilchos matzah the achar kach shuv beperek ches. If you wrote them in both places, right, in their home and in perek ches, okay, like he does, for example, with Kiddush and with the Netilas Yadayim and with all the other brachos that you do on Birkas and Mazon, right? Then I would have a havmina de tivan shel habrachos hu rak Birkas and mitzvah kishar brachos. Then I would think that the nature of these brachos is like any other brachos of mitzvah. Ukagon Birkas on Netilas Yadayim de nechtava behilchos brachos vav beis v'achkak shuv behilchos matzah ches vav kachelek misidor leil tes vav. Right. So in other words, the Rambam omitted it from these other sections and only put it in ches to show you that the nature of these brachos is sipur. If you put it in both places like Netilas Yadayim, then you would not differentiate it from Netilas Yadayim, or you would be less inclined to do so because you think he's just repeating the brachos.
And you just think that it is a separate thing and then just brought into.
Yes, right, like in Netilas Yadayim.
Yeah.
Okay. Next.
Yeah.
Al P, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Al P calls yesh lahat b'shitas Rambam b'mekadosh ariftas. Now, based on this, we can explain the sheet of the Rambam on making kiddush on a bread. Mitzvahs kiddush midoraisa hi amiras devarim bilvad. So the mitzvah of kiddush midoraisa is just saying words. Okay, meaning if you just say like vaipulu, then you're yotze kiddush deoraisa, I think, or whatever. You just say words, right? You don't need alakos and stuff. Ella the midrabanan chayavim laomran alakos or alpas, but midrabanan you have to say it either on a cup or on bread. V'hu kidei letzaret es kiddush l'seuda. And why is that? That's in order to relate the kiddush to the seuda. We're not going to read that now because I just want to make sure that we finish this year. Okay, so it makes sense, right? It's like kiddush b'macham seuda, attaching your kiddush to the oneg Shabbos and the food that you're going to eat. Okay. This attachment, this joining of kiddush and the seuda is a kiyum in kiddush, not in seuda. How do we know that? Because the Rambam writes this halacha in perek chaf tes, which is about the mitzvah of kiddush. He does not write it in perek lamed, which is about seuda. Okay. Skip the parentheses for now. Okay. V'im kain b'makadish arifta. Therefore, in the halacha of making kiddush on pas, are you looking something up? You want?
Yeah, no, he's still
No, we.
looking at the
Okay, sure. We can look it up.
Yeah.
I'm not in any rush if we go like 5 minutes over time.
Okay.
Yeah. What is this? Chaf tes vav through tes? Is that the one you're looking at?
Yeah.
Okay. Whoa.
It's 2:15. 2:15.
Okay.
Um,
Chaf tes vav through tes. Midivrei sofrim l'kadosh al hayayin u'lahavdil al hayayin. So midrabanan, you make kiddush on wine and do havdalah on wine. For alpha pishi you deal with tefillah, tzarech lahavdil al hakos. Even though you did it in tefillah, you need to do it on a kos. And the achar sheyavdil v'yomer bein kodesh l'chol mutar lo lasos malacha. That's for havdalah, obviously, not on tavis. Alpha pi shelo hivdil al hakos. Mevarach al yain tchila v'archach mekadesh ve'ino notel yadav al ad shi kadesh. Ketzad huos, and then he says the procedure. Okay, ches is ein kiddush el b'machim seuda. Ketzad, so you only do kiddush in the place of Suda. How so? Lo yikadosh b'bayis zev v'yochel b'bayis acher. You can't make kiddush here and go to another place. Lo yikadosh b'zavis zo, ochel b'zavis shnia. If you made kiddush in this corner, you can eat in that corner. V'lama mekadshim b'beis hakneses maybe orachin sh'ochlin sham b'shochlin sham. Yeah. Then you why do we do it in shul? Because of the people who stay there. Haimis aval pas yoser min yain o shelo hayalo yain harze notel yadav tchila mevarach hamotzi mekadish achach botzev ochel ve'en mavdilan al pas al alkos. So that's the halacha of making kiddush on bread. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Back to the Kuntress after the parentheses. Vim kain, meaning if so that this is a kiyum in kiddush, not in suda. The makadish arifta, when you make kiddush on bread, tiva shal achilas hamatzah kehaschalas hasuda shema. The nature of the eating of matzah, I just lost my place. Is like the beginning of the suda. Sorry, at the beginning of the suda, who rach kiyum the kiddush shal Shabbos b'yom tov kedei lahachiro. In order to, I can never translate machshir.
Prepare.
To validate it, to prepare it, to make it worthy. Yeah. That's the whole reason for this bread. So what do you think of like this? Is in other words, if I make kiddush on a kos, so that is the initiation of my su'udah. Okay, but it's a kiyum in kiddush that the kiddush is qualifying the su'udah. So if I make kiddush on bread and I eat the matzah there, so the nature of that matzah eating is a matzah that is a kiyum in kiddush to be machshir this suda of a suda that's qualified by kiddush. Mm-hmm. Okay. Umas zeh, in contradistinction to this, tiva sha'achilas matzah shelo ba'al l'tachlis kiyum acher hum inyan yitzias mitzrayim isa b'hilchos matzah ches daled. Eating of matzah that is not for any other kiyum is of the character of yitzias mitzrayim. Okay, meaning let's look that up. Ches daled. I'm not sure what halacha that is. I should really just keep all the windows open. I'm using the same window. And then just looking. Ches daled is Umachir shulchan v'omer l'panav v'omer Pesach zo she'anu ochlim. Oh, this is just the matzah zo she'anu ochlim. Right, so he's just showing that whenever you eat matzah, then that is that has the character of Yetzias Mitzrayim, because it's saying this matzah that we eat.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So who cares? So let's see what he says. Especially if you eat it after the Haggadah, im hamar u'pesach, with the maror and Pesach, because then you're tying it all together explicitly to Yetzias Mitzrayim. You're saying this matzah that we eat is because of this. Okay, that was all set up. Im kolzeh, with all that, yesh lamar, we can say the mikevan the Birkas al Achilas Matzah he sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, is that since the bracha of Achilas Matzah is sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, in l'tzarat es sipur la'achila shetiva enom in Yetzias Mitzrayim. You should not join the sipur to an eating that is not of the character of Yetzias Mitzrayim. Ella dahavia rak haksharas kiddush shel Shabbos v'yom tov. But rather, it's just a machshir of kiddush of Shabbos and Yom Tov. Okay, meaning, you got it? Meaning
that's why we say it at the end.
That's why we say it at the end. Yeah, meaning
that's just for kiddush.
Yeah, exactly. Meaning, if this were just a regular birkas mitzvah, then presumably you would say it now. But since this birkas mitzvah is sipur, you should only say this birkas mitzvah on a matzah that has that character of sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. but the matzah that you're eating for Kiddush is just a machshir in Kiddush. It's not serving that same purpose.
Why couldn't it be both?
Why couldn't it be both? Apparently it's not. No, it's a fair question. I guess he's saying that it's not the proper place to put it. Meaning like, I don't know if this is halakhically true, but presumably if you said the Birkas HaMitzvah, I think you would say you'd be yotzei, but it's not the proper place to do the Birkas HaMitzvah on. You know, I'll give you another example of this, which is not exactly the same because it's not based on the same svara, but like Rashi and the Rashbam both hold that the matzah shel mitzvah is the afikomen. So they hold that you make hamotzi on matzah and you eat your matzah to start your seudah, and then you delay the Birkas HaMitzvah until the afikomen. Now, if you made a Birkas HaMitzvah on the matzah you ate at the beginning, I don't know this for sure, but I would assume that they're yotzei, but they hold that the proper place to say the Birkas HaMitzvah is on the matzah that you're doing to be mekayim the mitzvah, which is over there. It could be that they hold that you're not yotzei the mitzvah at the beginning either, but maybe that's why they don't do it. But
well, yeah, I thought they are saying you don't say the bracha.
No, you say that. Oh, I thought they do.
Because I thought you were yotzei with us. No, you're saying it.
Yeah, I thought maybe I haven't looked at it in a while. I thought that they delay the bracha until you eat the afikomen.
Oh,
no, I thought so. Did they not?
I thought it was the same reason that. I think the Rashbam says.
Oh, because the feeling in your belly.
Yeah, the feeling.
Oh, fine. Okay, so then maybe I got that wrong then. Yeah.
And this that we're saying in terms of the mitzvah by Matzah doesn't apply by maror.
Oh yeah, he'll get to the maror in a second. Yeah. Another example, I guess, would be like the psak I got about brachot hashachar, that the psak was I follow minhag Ashkenaz, which is to say them whether I'm chayiv in them or not, but I should schedule them for when I do the action. It's like the proper place to say it. You know, I don't think it would go so far as to say that you're not yotzei the Birkas HaMitzvah. Yeah. Okay, so let's see where are we at now? Oh, Serif Zeh, we're on the third line of the paragraph Im Kol Zeh. Serif Zeh Yehi Pagam B'Sipor. This attachment would be a blemish in Sipor. Meaning if you said a bracha of Asher Kisham Mitzvah al Achilas Matzah, where you're telling about the eating of matzah as part of the story, and you're doing it on something that's just an accessory to Kiddush, that's not a matzah that you are telling the story about. That's a matzah that's just a stand-in for making your Kiddush good.
Or it's, if you, the maror with karpas, like that happens to not be in the right place, but at least it's still part of the meat, like it's not doing anything.
Yeah, so let's see what he says about that, because I think that's what he's going to say next. Even though you are yotzei matzah when you make Kiddush on matzah, that's only because you got hana from it. But the nature of that Achilah is it's like an accessory to Kiddush. Okay. Therefore, you say the bracha of al achilas matzah on the matzah after the Haggadah, because the nature of that Achilah is Yetzias Mitzrayim. Regarding the fact that he makes a bracha on Achilas on the second eating and it still is considered over l'asiyasa, meaning it's still considered that you haven't completed the fulfillment of the mitzvah yet. We talked about this. It's because the eating of matzah is a continual mitzvah. So that was what we were saying. The diuk is that when he says once you eat a kazayis, you're yotzei, it means that you're yotzei after the first kazayis, but any additional eating of matzah is still part of the mitzvah. So that's how you can say it. That's why we don't say the mitzvah is over by the time you get to the matzah later on. Yeah. Okay, now he gets to the maror. Al pi kol Sevaros though, based on all this svara, bid'acha maror lekarpas, when you eat maror as karpas, mivarach maror sham, you say the bracha on maror there. Af she'ochlo l'tachlis kiyum achi, even though you're eating it for a different kiyum, right? Shehari kol tiva shel karpas hu gam inyan sibur yitzias Mitzrayim, because the entire nature of karpas is it's only for sibur yitzias Mitzrayim. Why? Which we're not going to look up, but how is karpas for Yetzias Mitzrayim? The whole point of karpas is to talk about the night. So it is appropriate to make a bracha of Sipur on this Achilah of Sipur because it's part of the inyan of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim.
Right.
And with this, ein pagam b'sipur shel habracha. There's no blemish in the sipur element of the bracha. The mitzuraf la'achila shetiva hu Yetzias Mitzrayim, because it's attached to an eating whose nature is Yetzias Mitzrayim. Much inking but makadish arifta, which is not the case for making kiddush on bread. Okay. 2 more paragraphs? 3. Okay. Im kozeh yesh lahasbir machlokas haRambam v'harif. So now I can explain the machlokas between the Rambam and the Rif.
And the Ritz, you know, I mean,
So he's saying that the Rambam is really holding by the Ritz Giyas, but he's got this special Torah. Yeah. The lakuli alma habrachos the korbanos haPesach umatzah maror havian sipur yistis mitzrayim ba'atman. According to everyone, now I want to say that the Rif also holds by the Svara. The berachos on mitzvah on Matzah, maror, and Pesach are all sipur yistis mitzrayim. The ein l'tzaref sipur zeh la'Achilas shetiva einam inyan yistis mitzrayim, and one should not attach the sipur to an Achilah whose nature is not of that character of yistis mitzrayim. Okay, so they both agree on that. Ella delfi haRambam hagdaras teva zeh tluya b'chol misgarta shel ha'Achilah. However, according to the Rambam, the definition of the nature of this eating is contingent on the entire framework of the eating. And therefore, when you make kiddush on bread, you would not make the bracha on an eating which is only coming to be machshir the kiddush of Shabbos and Yom Tov. So the Rambam is defining the achila based on the context, and the context here is why are you eating bread now? Because of kiddush. Okay. Ulam l'fi harif hagdaras teva zeh tluya b'chefetz shel ha'achila l'chud. But the Rif defines the nature of the eating based on the object itself. The chavurah shel matzah me'alia havyam inyan yitzias mitzrayim, and the chavurah shel matzah itself has the character of yitzias mitzrayim. L'chein shapir mevarach aleha b'makadish arifta, and that's why you can make a bracha on it when you make kiddush on pots.
cool.
Yeah, right. So he's saying they both hold by the Svara, but the question is what makes this a matzah of yitzias mitzrayim? Is it the context of the eating, or is it the entity itself? Yeah.
I think, I don't know, I'm just going to say this, but the only thing we haven't explained yet is, so why do you get maror at the end?
Right, and I don't think he is going to explain that because I don't think that's a question in this sugya.
Okay.
You know, I think that's a question on why we the maror, and he'll probably say what you said. Is it part of the Seder Halayla? You know, yeah, it's a good question though. Okay, inami. Alternatively, we got 2 svaras. Inami, yeah.
It's very strange that he keeps saying the Indian of yitzias mitzrayim.
Yeah.
Like C4. Like, I don't know, it's very strange. It is.
I can't sleep at night. Yeah, yeah. Instead of sipur.
Like why C4 seems like a more precise.
So I think because he's trying to say that the bracha is sipur, and the sipur has to be attached to something that has the character of yitzias mitzrayim. It's not that it has the character of sipur yitzias mitzrayim. You're using it in, if you had let's say you are giving a class about wine, and you have a cup of wine as a visual aid. You would say that the wine has a character, or that this cup of wine has, this cup has a character of wine, not this cup has a character of talking about wine.
Right.
You know, it's you know,
By having the character of wine, it stimulates the conversation about wine.
Yes, yeah, but it's not the talking about the wine that's the thing. That's why it's the character of yitzias mitzrayim, not the character of sipur yitzias mitzrayim.
So the bracha is part of sipur.
Bracha is part of sipur, and the sipur element of the bracha has to be attached to something that has the character of yitzias mitzrayim.
And having character of yitzias mitzrayim means that it's whatever.
So that's going to be dependent on the Rif and the Rambam that he just said. According to the Rif, is this an object that was brought into existence from the event of the sipur, right? Meaning that this is why we eat matzah, right? Or is it the way you're using the matzah? I'll give you another example, okay? And this is a weird example. I'd be willing to bet that if you make an eruv out of matzah.
I was thinking like strings of matzah.
Oh, no, right, yeah. But the bread part of the eruv, you know? That he would also say that matzah, the Rambam would say that matzah does not have the character of yitzias mitzrayim. I mean, I know that's like, that doesn't get into the Seder at all, but you know, like, or like a rakik of a Nazir. What did he hold about that? I forgot. We'll have to look it up.
Yeah, if it's made specifically for being Rashidi Nazir, then it doesn't have, you can't use it.
Oh, okay, there you go then.
Cool.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, inami, now here's another Sevaros to explain the Rambam and the Rif, right? Yeah.
He's saying the matzah is like a prop.
It's a prop, yeah, the prop in the story. That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
And so if you're not like using it for something other than like what it's for, then it's not gonna be functioning as
right. If you're just using it to connect your kiddush to your meal, then that's not being used as a prop of yitzias mitzrayim. That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
Whereas the Rif says it's just a prop, and who cares where you're using it. Like that's,
he's saying that the prop intrinsically has the quality, of yitzias mitzrayim. Therefore, it doesn't matter where you use it. If you had a Mickey Mouse ears, it doesn't matter where you use it, it still is Mickey Mouse ears. Like it has the theme of Disney. I don't know, that's the first thing that came to mind. Yeah. Inami, yesh lahasbir delchuli alma ein litzarf es asipor shel habracha la'achilas enam ininitis mitzrayim. Okay, or we could say everyone holds that one should not join the seaport of bracha to an eating that is not of the character of Yitzias Mitzrayim. Ella, however, delpi Rambam ba'inan achila shekol tiv'a hum inin Yitzias Mitzrayim ukahanizkar la'el. But according to the Rambam, you need an achila whose sole identity is Yitzias Mitzrayim. Ulam l'pi arif, imavarach al achila sheish ba kesher mikol makom in Yitzias Mitzrayim, aft ein inized tiva shel ha'achila lecha pagam b'sipor shel ha'bracha. But according to the Rif, as long as there is a connection to the Indian of Yitzias Mitzrayim, then even though it's not the nature of that achila, then there is no blemish in the sipor. So this is basically saying this second svara is taking everything and going into the side of the Rambam that says it's dependent on the context. But it's saying that everyone holds you need a bracha, you need attached to the sipor of the bracha to an entity that, to an eden that is in Yitzias Mitzrayim. But according to the Rambam, that has to be the entire character of the thing. Whereas going to the Rif, it just has to have an aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I don't like that svara as much. Yeah. But and therefore when you make kiddush on bread, different svara, sorry. Therefore for kiddush, Sheha'achila machira es hakiddush de'is be'chag hamatzos zman cherusenu zecher l'yitzias Mitzrayim shafim revarch al achila matzah sham. So he's saying that since in kiddush you actually narrate and you do see for Yitzias Mitzrayim, you say that chag hamatzos, the time of our freedom and remembrance of Yitzias Mitzrayim, that's what makes the matzah related to Yitzias Mitzrayim, not from the entity. That's an interesting one, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. All right, last one.
Wait,
yeah.
Hold on. So that's good for the Rif. That's what the Rif holds?
That's what the Rif holds, yeah.
And the Rambam
would hold that the entire identity of this matzah needs to be Yitzias Mitzrayim, and therefore, since you're using it for kiddush, then that removes it. It would still be a pagam in the seaport. Okay. Yeah. I feel like there's another example we could use for the prop thing with this. Meaning, I have to construct it. Yeah.
Like you say a summary of the play over the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In other words, the fact that you're talking about it is enough to make it a prop for this. In other words, if I was talking about a topic and I held an object that had to do with the topic, I'm effectively using it as a prop, but I'm not using it exclusively as a prop. That's the thing I'm trying to get like the other side of the model for.
It's like the difference between show and tell and like a play.
Yeah, you're right. Rambam wants show and tell,
Rambam
or wants.
No, I was just.
Oh no, the other way. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Wait, yeah.
Yeah, we should think about it some more. Yeah. All right, let's do the last paragraph though. V'yesh lahosif, and we should add. So this is not going to be an essential part of this year. The berachos, mitzvos, korban, Pesach, Matzah, maror, nitfasu k'chelik mitzvor Yitzias Mitzrayim. They are the berachos mitzvah of Pesach, Matzah, and maror are. I never know how to say it, nitfas. Seized up, grabbed, wrapped up in. As a component of Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim, Mikevan Dino lo havi Sipur Me'ora Bilvad, because its din is not just telling about an event. Ella the chelik atmi shel hasipur hu levair es hakesher bin hamaora lemitzvos shenikbu biglala meaning avodas Hashem. That an essential part of the Sipur is to explain the connection between the event and the mitzvos that were established because of the event in regards to avodas Hashem. And what's the greatest raya of that? I don't know if he's going to say this. Is Rambam Gamliel.
Yeah.
Is he going to say that? I don't know. There ayin shemos yud gimel yudal through tesvav, which I think is the ba'avur zeh asa Hashem li b'teisim mitzrayim. That why did God take us out?
Yeah.
What was the ba'avur zeh?
Meaning.
No, other way around.
Oh, he took me out
so that I can do these mitzvos, right? I'm just going to make sure that I'm not making up what psukim that is. I think that was 13. What do you say, 13, 14?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm quoting that wrong. 14 and 15?
Yeah.
Wait, 13, 14, and 15?
14, 15.
14, 15. That makes more sense. So that's a different one, actually. Vayhi hikshafar l'shalchenu v'yahro Hashem kol b'chor be'eretz Mitzrayim b'chor adam v'ad b'chor behema al kain ani zoveach l'Hashem kol peter rechem ha'zacharim kol b'chor b'nai efdeh. Meaning, when you answer your kid about the seaport, it's not enough to tell him about the events that happened. You have to connect it to the mitzvah that you're about to do. Yeah, and he says here also Mishnah b'Pesach Pesachim daf kufta zayin al veiz zechol shlo amar shlosh dvarim elu v'chulei shein mitzvot halayla. Right, so that's the Rambam Bekius, that if you don't explain the mitzvot halayla, you're missing an essential part of the seaport, which you don't have to say were not for that Mishnah. Meaning, you could say, if I read the entire, if I just tell you all the events of Yetzias Mitzrayim, haven't I done seaport? Answer is no. I have to also explain how those events resulted in these mitzvos, because that's what connects it to avodas Hashem. Last line. What about it?
That's the years.
Ooh, they're talking about the mitzvos?
Yeah.
That's another candidate.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yes.
We got to figure out what that is. What's the actual Masai B'Sheva? Because we got too many good candidates now. That's interesting, Raya. Also, that when you answer the Ben Chacham, you answer him by explaining the mitzvos halayla, which shows the highest level of Yetzias Mitzrayim is when you connect it to the mitzvos.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Nice year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And this is why I wanted to do this one first, because this is Svara, but it's not like the actually, hold on a second. Let me just stop this here. Stop.
Okay.